Judy Wright is a corporate executive, entrepreneur, mother of 6, and author of several books. She lives here in Missoula with her family. As she approaches midlife, Judy says she feels a sense of urgency combined with a new feeling of freedom and possibility.
My question has always been, well, how will I know when I'm in menopause? And they always kind of laugh and say, believe me, you'll know. And I keep thinking, well, how will I know? You know, there has to be some sort of a sign. The more I think about it, the more I realize that I've been waiting for something really dramatic and terrible to happen, and it's probably not going to. Well, I don't know about society, but I know advertising told me I should be on estrogen, but I couldn't get any straight answers from anyone when I was supposed to be on estrogen. And it was just very confusing. It still is very confusing to me. Really, the only change that I've noticed in my menses is that about every other period or every third period is very, very heavy. And so, of course, when I have one of those, I think, I'm not going to do this. We'll just go, you know, I'll just call my doctor. We'll just get one of those hysterectomies, blah, 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 blah. And then the next month, I think, well, what was I whining about? It wasn't that bad. You know, I don't know if I mentioned to you about this sales and marketing group that I belong to, and one of the things that we discussed one time was hormones in sales, the relationship. For me, the day before my period begins, there's not anything I can't do. I can conquer the world on that day, and for others, it's the third day of their period. But all of us who had attained a certain age, we're now more in tune with our body. And we knew when to listen and when to act on those power days and what days to not act on because you're very vulnerable. Listen to your body. It took me so long, and I think it wasn't until I was about 35 that I recognized that I had an allergy to chocolate. I don't know whether it's an allergy or just a sensitivity to chocolate and to caffeine. My body paid a very heavy price, and with irritability, with my head was fuzzy, my hands would shake, all sorts of things that finally I realized that was too high of a price to pay for that good taste of Coca-Cola going down my throat. I also have learned, like I say, to listen to my body, to recognize that every third period is the one that's going to cause me trouble. And so I schedule things. If I know that that's when I'm going to have a heavy period, I don't schedule a board meeting. I don't schedule a confrontation with an employee. Midlife is excitement, exuberance, also a sense of urgency. A real sense of urgency because I'm real goal-oriented, a real visionary, know where I want to go and what I'd like to accomplish. Actually, it's amazing because my mentors aren't older women, they're just all women. And I think that seeing my daughters mature into such marvelous women has been real good for me. I think that's probably the greatest success that I've had, is that I've had a really good marriage where we're best friends, and that my children all like themselves. I was doing a book signing at the mall at B. Dalton's, and a woman came up to me, gray hair, and we engaged in conversation. We were talking about different things, and she said something that really affected me, and she said, if you look at history, women really began to create at menopause. And she said, in the second half of your life is when that creative energy goes out into the world, and that you're able to just put all of that, the forces that you have and all the wisdom that you've gained, you're then able to give that back to the world. And in essence, what she was telling me was there's time. There's plenty of time. Don't hurry it. Don't give in to this feeling of urgency.
Of fear.
Of fear and of urgency. Yeah. Because there's time.
Spaid grew up on a farm in the Bitterroot Valley during the Great Depression. She was a wife and mother for 47 years and was active in the Rebecca and Moose Lodges. As a widow, she's created a life for herself that includes grandchildren, poetry, and volunteer work.
A very good life. Had a very good husband, a very kind and thoughtful husband. We were married for 46 years, and he always understood me. And I wasn't always an easy person to understand. My husband was advanced before, this. He took care of the kids and did things with them and took them places way before this was fashionable. I think most of my achievements that I am proudest about for myself have taken place since I've lost my husband, which is because before that I could lean on him. Actually, I guess I didn't lean quite as much as I thought I did, but I always knew he was right there, even when he was sick. One is a recent one that I had a year ago. I went to college and took a course in creative poetry writing. So I don't think menopause meant a whole lot to me when I was younger. It was something I worried about. Because in my very young days, I'd always understood that a lot of women lost their mind. From what I grew up with on the farm and everything, they talked about it all a lot when I was a kid, It was something everybody dreaded. I was born during the Depression, at the beginning of the Depression there somewhere. And people didn't live that long. My father died when he was 41. And most everybody, by the time they were 60, they were gone, or their life was totally useless, They were senile or some such thing. I guess that was it, that life was just over it. Basically, you're on the downhill slide when you were 30. You weren't a woman anymore, you couldn't have children anymore, and even today, a lot of people blame any mental or depression problems on menopause, and it does shake you up a little bit, I guess. And some people have bad problems with it, which, like I said, fortunately, I didn't have it. But I think that's basically the thing that, you're not quite a complete woman anymore. Now, I always worked nights or something, so my children were never, ever left alone, or with babysitters. The only ones they were ever left with my husband. He was at night, or my mother would watch the little one in the daytime when I worked. But so we were all so active that worrying about menopause, or if anything, it was just something somebody joked about. And I asked my doctor about it because there was the claimer that estrogen shots were causing cancer in women, breast cancer or uterus or something. He said, you feel time something, you need a shot, tell him we'll get one. Otherwise, let it go. So when I apparently start getting a little testy and cranky, because I worked with my son and for my son and his wife in their plant, in the cleaners, and for 17 years. And when I start getting a little cranky, then she'd say, Mom, I think it's time you go over and get a shot. So, and I'd go get a shot. Bless her heart. But other than that, like I said, I didn't have hot flashes, cramps or whatever else, and I definitely never thought I was losing my mind any more than I did when I was raising, younger and raising kids periodically. And my sons left just shortly after that during Vietnam. And one was in Vietnam, one was in Germany, and that was 4 years. And yes, I had a lot of depression during that time. And like I told you, I like to write poetry. And I write most of my poetry the best when I'm depressed. And I've written a lot of poems while the kids were there. And not necessarily good poetry, but yeah, I could pour my heart out, because I couldn't do this to my husband. I knew he was worried already. And so I put it on paper. And I guess basically that's probably a lot that helped me through it. Like I said, the poetry isn't always good, but it feels. Like I said, I'd had one, a child late in life, and frankly, I was very happy I didn't have to worry about having any more children. And you can get out and do more things. You have more freedom. And basically, just accept the fact that you are still you. It is not going to change your life except to make it better. Unless for some reason at your age you want to have more children, which I can't. And it does not diminish you as a woman. In fact, my husband found me far more, well, I won't say more desirable, but I mean, our sex life it improved as we didn't have any worries. And we just really enjoyed life more the older we got, both of us.
Linda Lightfoot is a mother of 4, a hatha yoga instructor and holistic therapist. She lives here in Missoula. For Linda, midlife was full of changes and challenges.
I think the first thing when midlife or menopause comes to mind is kind of the positive fact is I don't have to deal with periods anymore. I had very heavy periods my whole life, and it's great not to have to deal with that anymore. It's wonderful to be in a wonderful relationship and have love and know that you don't have to worry about getting pregnant. It's such a wonderful freedom of being the total woman that you want to be sexually and on every other level, where there's none of this, oh God, I might get pregnant, or what if I did, and all this is that. We don't have to be. That even love goes to a much deeper and a higher and a divine level. It's free. It's wonderful. I know a lot of women, all of a sudden they're 50, their children leave, and there's this big transition. That didn't happen that way for me. My mindsets were already, I was breaking down the old patterns before I even got to midlife. It was freedom is really the real key. Many women, I think, take that and they create fears because they feel incomplete because they don't have their children anymore. And I think that this is where we come back to going into our inner selves, where we really find out who we are, and our lives become full and abundant because we can start living our lives to the fullest because we're not having to drain our energies out in so many different directions with children, home, job, husband, and this type of thing. It's been very mild, and I am. No, it seems like there wasn't, for me, there hasn't been a lot that I've needed to talk about. My mother, my family, we come from two totally different viewpoints on how I view that. I cannot discuss anything health-wise with my mother because my mother says, well, have you got your pap smear? Have you done this? Have you done that? And I say, no, Mother, I'm doing this, this, and this. And what I'm doing, a lot of people haven't done. I mean, which is a totally natural, totally thing, you know, working with meditation, working with spirituality, lots of outdoor hiking. I teach yoga. I mean, keeping active. Again, like I said, bringing the child within out. Being who you are. Age is nothing. See, people get locked in, oh my God, I'm 50 and we've got all these stereotypes. When you're 40, you do this. When you're 50, you do this. When 60, you do this. When you're 70, you do this. So I have found out with all the things that the lessons that have come to me in my life have really helped me to enjoy the life that I live today. Because people will say, how do you know what you know? And I said, I know it because I have experienced it. I've gone through a lot of trials, and people will say, oh, that's so awful. And I say, no, it's not awful. I said it was something that came into my life, and I bless it now because I was able to learn and to develop and to grow and to be who I am and to be a teacher for others. My approach in life is that I still plan to do whatever I want to do when I'm 80 years old. I still want to teach yoga classes. And these mentor teachers that I have are women. Aida, I think, is 75, and she's wonderful. She swims, she teaches, she travels, she talks, her letters are exciting, she's full of life. I don't look at her as being, maybe a 75-year-old woman. We're equal. I mean, it doesn't matter. The other woman is the same way. She's busy, she's beautiful, she's happy, she's traveling, she's doing things, she's teaching people. She's living life in the moment, and that is the key, not in the future, not in the past, but in the moment. I think the whole core, I think, of this menopausal thing is mental attitude. And if you need help, I honor what you're doing, because this is going to be able to reach out, and I want to reach out and be able to help other women to let go and be the divine beings they are. Never say I should or I could, because you can do anything that you really want to do. Yeah.
This is Agnes Kenmille. We're at Elmo at her tannin shack. Agnes is one of our elders. She serves on the Elders Advisory Council for the Flathead Culture Committee. She is a past teacher at Two Eagle River School, where she taught Salish and Kootenai languages and taught Native American art. She teaches hide tanning at Salish Kootenai College, and she's been tanning hides for approximately 65 years.
Tell me what comes to
Comes
your
natural.
mind for you, and for your mind, when I say midlife and menopause. What do you think
Well,
of?
tell me what's this many.
Menopause? That's when your period stops.
Like I said, I didn't know, because it was sometimes 2 months, 1 month, and I go, but I was, I'll say I was, for a whole year, I just thought I was pregnant every now and then, but from who? That's this workshop of mine. This workshop of mine.
Pretty
Catherine was just a baby. And this was my house, this was my kitchen. My table was over here, and the cook stove was over there, cupboard. Used to be wooden box right there, where I keep beans, rice, where mice wouldn't get in there. What else? And
What's that?
oh, this house is something I always worry that when I get off work, go back to my house, I think about what if my workshop burns? Because this house probably, it could be 90 years old. My mother died when I was 12. My dad died when I was 7. So I didn't have anybody but my auntie. She left me all the time. I started taking care of an old lady. I was 13. That's the year I seen blood.
So what do you think about during that time when they say midlife, when you're at middle-aged?
Well, all I could think of, gee, I'm not going to have no more kids. Like that time I already
Where's that cat?
was working on hide and all this. So when I had kids,
Oops. Still hot.
I would be holding them, I would be working on these hides all the way through. I would be sewing in the sewing machine, I would be holding my baby, nursing them.
If you could say one thing to women who are worrying or wondering about menopause, what would you say to them?
Well, I would tell them not to worry, it's natural, that it don't bother them. They still have to kind of watch, a long time ago, we never know what date, what month we're going to have our baby. We don't know. Like I say, I don't think anybody helped me. Like when I was all by myself when Wilfred was born.
Oh, that's pitiful.
Nobody around here, they're all in Libby picking huckleberries. Everybody, even Kenmille was down there. So, Catherine and Kenmille, that's my two kids. We went to town. There used to be bus back and forth through here. So got about a watermelon back over there. About 15 minutes I started having pain. Labor. Oh, Then I start getting ready, everything ready, baby blankets, scissors, and gee, I didn't have no electricity in there yet, in my bedroom. So everything ready on a chair in my bed. But gee, I'm gonna have to do something about my blankets. I couldn't get all bloody. But my doctor, long time ago, for my first baby, was Dr. Diamond. You heard of him? And so he put a bunch of books on my bed, and then thin blanket, which I don't like, you know. Then I put it on, then I laid there. Then
I could open it.
born as a little boy, and then I cut the cord. I would get dizzy, I would lay down for a while.
How did you know how to take care of the umbilical cord?
Yeah,
Want me to?
my dad, I know, my sister had a baby
We're hot.
when I was 7 years old, and my sister told me that our dad told him to 3 fingers from the stomach and cut the cord, cut it tight, and then wrapped it up. And all that day, kids had watermelon. Catherine was 5 years old, and Kenmille was 3. Mom, you want some watermelon? No! That's what they had all day, eating watermelon.
As much as they wanted.
That was the only time that I really was scared, when I was by myself.
What did you hear in the community about midlife?
You know, I don't think they talk about it. It seems like they're ashamed to say what they, you know, what they think, what they want to do. They don't like to talk about it. Yeah, you won't know. All of a sudden we'll just, I'm not going to have any more kids.